a conspiracy theorist. I look around and just can't understand. Here is something perfectly clear that is an answer you cannot defend. Yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I couldn't be nearest to the truth. Hey, hey, we all are conspiracy theorists. Hey guys, how about you? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Everything They Don't Want You to Know. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the English language and why it is the ultimate trap. Trapping you in a world of limitation that you create by yourself through your beliefs. Now, for those of you who are big entertainment people, I do an entertainment show 6 days a week, Coolest Alive. 5 days a week, we recommend animation on Monday, music on Monday, animation on Tuesday, live actions Thursday, Wednesdays are comic books, Fridays my wild card. We'll do documentaries, all sorts of cool stuff, but just recommendations, not me reviewing anything, just going, you should check this out, it's great. And we do a mother show on Saturday, which is like an hour long, and I just did 52 of the greatest non-Disney animated films ever made. I love my show. Coolest Alive is a great show, 6 days a week. So if you're not listening to Coolest Alive, you should be. Also, I do a music show that's monthly now called All Your Favorite Bands Suck. It's available everywhere except for Spotify. But Spotify will be back up there soon. I got a new episode coming for the Black Keys. I just did an episode on an artist named Grandson. I love him so much. You'll love him too. You should check that out. JBS at blacklightdistrict.studio. That's my company. You can email me whenever. I don't care. Whenever you need to email me. And blacklightdistrict.studio, that's my website. That's the company's website. You can go there and read comics and listen to free music. Everything that we have up on the website is stellar. The only problem is that not a lot of money has been put into promoting the material. So a lot of the material hasn't been promoted in any way, shape, or form for people to find it. And, that's half the reason why I've built myself a platform so I could promote it. But go, you will be happy, as so many other people who have gone to check out blacklightdistrict.studio and got to read comics like Fucking for Our Future, Mythic Legions, King of Kings, or listen to any of the great albums from The Slip or Baptized by Fire, Dilf USA. There's tons of great material on the website right now. So you should get over there and check that stuff out. All right. So let's get into this. I'm not going to over talk this matter. And however, whatever it is, however long it takes me to kind of explain it all perfectly, that'll be it. That'll be the show. Because, I didn't write a fucking class on this. And there are people who can will teach classes on these things. And they will have fucking lists and stuff. Things like, why do we drive on the parkway and park on the driveway? Why is everything inverted? Why do we understand? Why don't we overstand? And, the people in Jamaica and through slang, people are rewriting some of the weirdness of the English language. So that's step one. There's weirdness in the English language that is as simple as we're driving on the parkway and parking on the driveway. What is this consistent inverting of language? You'll find that there's lots of language that's used like that all across the board in the world. Again, understand being another good example of this. Just the sayings and the way we say things, it almost is like they did it on purpose. But seeing as nobody that we're aware of got together and said, hey, we're going to invert the meaning in their language, it's very strange. It seems like, who told anybody to do this? Why did they do that like this? I'm here to tell you, they did that like this because it's all a carefully constructed plan. The English language could probably be considered the earliest psyop. English was designed to control us. And it's because I'm an English major and I'm a writer who's been studying English my entire life that over time I began to see this and notice the patterns that fucking prove that was true. Lots of people would want to tell you otherwise, but I believe that Latin is not a language that has ever been spoken. And there are plenty of people who will tell you that they don't think so either. It seems that Latin was basically strung together from some of their earlier, the people who were like rulers, like some of the early Roman, Greek. They wanted to build things around the Greeks, build things around the greatness of certain cultures, and then erase all these other cultures from the planet. So they invented this Latin thing. Everything comes from fucking Latin, but that's not true. The earliest root language that things come from is ancient Phoenician, ancient Gaelic, sorry. That's roots of ancient language in ancient Gaelic. So, and there are that you can find, but Latin appears to be a very selective kind of language. It does a number of things, and the biggest one that like I've known this, but like I had like a really major realization about it yesterday of just how pure and how clear it was, and that was when I decided that I was going to make this show kind of based around it so that we could just end on the conversation that needs to be had surrounding the language. But the first thing that you have with the language is this inversion, okay? Second thing that you have with the language is genderization. This is well, actually, we don't have it like as bad as like say in Spanish or whatever. But like there's words for the girls, there's words for the boys. Often we're not just utilizing one single word for everybody. Then a deeper level than that, because you might be focused on that if you're sexist, but there's no need to be sexist. You can just be even with everybody, because the other thing that is being fucked around with here, besides the other thing is ownership. Me, mine. Remember in history class they teach you that some of the Native American tribes needed to be taught the idea of ownership in order for them to be given land, in order for them to have their land stolen. They literally had to teach these concepts. Fundamentally, within the language, you didn't need that. You don't need to differentiate sex to understand the language. That's not a necessary difference, or at least not majorly. You don't need to be changing and similarly, we could all be living in a world where the language of mine and I didn't exist and everything was we. We. And wouldn't that be closer to the spiritual idea that I believe most of us listening probably have an idea that we're all one, it's all we, it's all ours, shared ownership, shared experience, etc., etc. So, the next thing that the language does, and this is ultimately its biggest job, and the thing that is stopping us all from having magic, from seeing more absolute experiences in our reality. And granted, it's smashing into the other cars of circumstance, of all these other things that we're not doing to not be in alignment with the universe. But the English language lives in degrees. And actually, you know what? Before I even say degrees, let me just go back, because a version of this, which would be one more, which was I did want to put in front of the degrees, is that the English language puts you into time in a very terrible way. This is probably the second worst thing that the English language does. Things are all tensed, right? Past tense, future tense. I'm going to do that. I'm getting there. Have you done that yet? Like, how close are you? And we're going to get into these things of the degrees in a second, but putting you into language, which granted, I want to describe something that happened yesterday, sure, but a lot of the language inherently brings us to a idea of degrees within time. Degrees within time locks us into time. And that's the big problem with degrees in general. Degrees lock us into a non-pure reality. In a pure reality, there is love, there is hate. I like this, I don't like this. Like a cat going through reality. Ooh, I'm enjoying this, I don't like this. Somebody comes up, tries to pet her, I don't like that. I like this, don't like that, like this. Very quick decision making. Not, oh, well, I don't really like this, but I'm going to go for 3 months, letting this person get close to me, and and then one day I'm going to let it explode, and the relationship's going to break up. I don't know why I got in a relationship with them in the first place. There was some sort of whatever. Those are degrees that we're living in. There are absolutes, and we could live in a more absolute reality if we spoke in absolutes. How you doing, Jess? I'm the best I can be. Always. I'm always great. I'm not good. I'm not okay. These are all degrees. You are powerful. You are godly. You can do anything. The moment you become degrees, well, yesterday was my birthday and the other day was Christmas, but today's just a regular day. Do you see how we're turning everything into degrees? Where do you put Christmas, birthdays? What's your favorite day of the year? What's your favorite day of the week? And it's funny too because we do on Coolest Alive all the time. I'm doing lists. I just did a list of like 52 non-Disney animated films, and and I don't know if that poisons us on any level. Just like thinking in lists and then putting things in degrees and trying to go, this one's better than this one's better than this one. Like I think on some level we have been drawn into that sort of thinking and situation where it's comforting because we've been taught to do that constantly. All this comparing yourself to other people. And you need to have the language for it. Oh, is she pretty? Well, she's not as pretty as you, Mom, but she's pretty. Like, it's just, she's beautiful. She's not. She is, she isn't. The language could be simpler, and instead, we have opened it up to explain a bunch of degrees. Let me give you a little bit more information about what level of beauty this person is. Let me give you some more information about some of these things. Now, when you're discussing these things, she's blonde, she's red-haired, whatever else, there are some absolute pieces of information in there, but so often you come up against something like intelligence measured on a scale, beauty measured on a scale, strength measured on a scale, and granted, atheist, Gnostic, skeptic in the audience be going, well, of course, fucking strength is measured on a scale. Men are stronger than women, and you're right. There is a practical aspect to this as well. There is also the thought matrix, and that plays into a part of it as well. They're all connected. But yes, there is a certain practical this, that, the other thing. But at the same time, what we also come to realize as we get into this spiritual battle is it's the absolutes. The rain dance, a good prayer is me living in the knowing and the faith that anything that I should ask for, unless there's a reason why it can't be, it will be. Simply by me going and visualizing and living in the knowing that it is already here and living gratefully, knowing that it's already there. I've got it. Thank you, God. It's already here. That's a rain dance. Woohoo! We're doing a dance because we already got the thing. It's not. Where is it? It's not here yet, but we know we got it. So we're already dancing because we believe that hard. That is faith. That's rain dancing. That is absolutism. Our magical power to create things, to manifest, to change and shape the world comes from absolute thinking. This is good, we'd prefer that. This is bad, we wouldn't prefer that. All of the degrees, sort of like open you up to sort of having to experience different levels of trauma. It's like I don't know, I really kind of knew that I didn't like this boy, but like I felt bad for him, and now I lost money and this and 3 years of my life, and there was a guy that I did like who asked me out, and I didn't go out with him because I said yes to this other guy who I didn't like. The power of absolutes. Absolutes will bring you where you want to go. And even absolutes of things like, I'm not the right person for this job. I don't like this job. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this. I need help with this. I need to get somebody who's good at this. Don't force yourself to do the things because you don't know anybody to do it. If it's really not the right thing for you, if you're having difficulty with something, it's always the best thing to go find somebody who is the right thing, to bring in the energy of joy and love to the situation. When you get somebody who's going to go and joyfully do the thing that you were doing miserably, the world is a better place. So absolutes are important in manifestation, in the way that we're thinking about ourselves or whatever else. I mean, it's like some degree of like I hate myself is hard to get to the bottom of. It's like when if you go, oh, I hate myself. It's like, oh my God, I'm at the bottom. I hate myself. What does that mean? Why do I hate myself? What's making me feel that way? Before you know it, you're already in the process of figuring something out because the absolute brought you to have to face the fucking truth. But grays and scale and degrees, they obstruct your vision. They don't let you see what's really going on. They make it seem like everything's okay because everything's in this little middle stage where the absolutes aren't really clear to me. The more the absolutes become clear, the absolute goods become your choices. The absolute bads become your no, I'd rather not. If you, and I really believe this, I said this to my best friend, my roommate, Digger, I said, if you started talking in absolutes about everything all the time, I'm rich, I'm powerful, I'm capable, I'm this, and never used any degree language or anything, I think it would literally transform your life. All of our lives. I think it's very difficult for us to do this. Like, if me and Digger tried to do it next week, like I'm like never gonna, like, I don't think it's possible. I think actually that so many of these energetic patterns are like stored in our little wheelhouse that we have some very minor hooks that keep trying to hook into that 3D grid of degrees. I think we all are still running a little bit of that program in the backgrounds. But the more we can become consciously aware that we are attracting all of these things through the subtle little things that we believe. And some of the subtlest of the things that we believe is that there are absolutes. It's not just we're all one and I love you and you love me and that's how it's supposed to be. That's what it should be. That's an absolute. Now think about that versus how it is. Oh, well, what can you do for me? How much money do you have? How beautiful are you? How charming are you? How this and that and the other thing. It all becomes well, what have you done for me lately? Well, I'm looking at you and you're pretty, so these, like, we should not be operating in this way at all. This is a superficial way of operating a society. It is stupid. There are very practical ways of operating society that we could be operating under. Hold on one second. My daughter's calling me. Hey, Parker, I'm recording my show. Could I call you back in just a little bit? Love you. Bye-bye. There are more practical ways in which we could be doing everything, based on nature and sustainability and ways in which we'll do the least harm and leave the smallest footprint on planet Earth. These are ways that we should find ourselves to. Superficially choosing over, oh, well, he went to this university. University doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean shit. What it means is you're willing to slave harder than all the other slaves. That's what it means. And I don't mean to disrespect any of you. But the way this system has been set up, it's set up to enslave us. It's set up to get us to jump through their hoops, to learn their words and spell them exactly the same way that we learned at the spelling bee, to define their words so that we know the same terms, so that we're all thinking in lockstep. And the colleges are all owned by the industries to which they are building their future workforce. And they teach those college students what they want them to learn and no more. People who learn more and go beyond the college, that's you. That's on you to do that. The system itself is never going to do that. It's going to try to get as much from you as possible, and it's going to try to keep you in this limited bandwidth where you're competing and keeping up with the Joneses, with all these other college students and all these other people who might be up for work, because what's this guy worth and what's that guy worth? You have absolute worth? How much do I have to pay somebody with absolute worth? The reality is we can negotiate, but to have absolute worth, to have absolute wealth, to have absolute beauty, just to be, or at peace with whatever it is that you look like, the beauty of, the non-traditional beauty that is beautiful. It's all beautiful. It's all one thing. For us to really maximize this world and move things forward, I believe that we're all going to have to start to do away with a lot of the language that we're currently using on our own. we need to start speaking in absolutes. We need to choose to stop using certain words. We need to overstand instead of understand. I like to use the whole pronoun thing, which I think is so stupid, multiple pronouns. But the pronoun thing, the idea of limiting the pronouns and getting rid of he and him and getting rid of she and her, and it just being they, them, that's not a bad idea. That's a great idea. Simplifying language so that there's less discrimination is a great thing. Totally with that. Adding individual fucking pronouns for individuals who decide, I want my pronoun to be like, who fucking, like, it's insane. Why are we spending any time with any of these people to fucking, so that they can make a little umbrella to like put people in boxes? It's fucking crazy. The he, him thing that basically, the they, them thing that starts the conversation, that is actually a very interesting and novel idea, something that could benefit society and could be beneficial. So, but that's not going to come from us bullying other people into my pronouns. Stop calling me she. That's not going to come that way. It's going to come from us choosing to not use he, him, she, or her with anyone. Because they, them applies to everybody. So we just use they, them. Because we've chosen to do that. But it's not you going around and fucking being a dickhole to people because they're not using it. Do you understand me? Don't do that. It's so not cool. Not cool. That's not how fucking, what is his name? Huckleberry Finn? That's not how he got the other kids to paint his fence. Or is it Tom Sawyer? Who's the one who got all the other kids to paint his fence? By making it look like it was fun. I said to one of my friends the other day, an artist in comics and very liberal in comics. And I said, Steve, I am the most liberal on planet Earth. I said, but I come off like a crazy Nazi person as I challenge some of their thinking all the time. But it's not because I'm not like them. I'm more like them than they are. I recognize that in order to win this fucking battle and really open people's minds, it's going to require a little fucking finesse, man. You don't just like force what other people think is weird on the other people. You sell them on it. Nicely, slowly, over time. We were doing that. There was such a great fucking change in vibe on planet Earth. There had been for a long time. And then all of this fucking overcorrection to put the trans people and the LGBT people all out in the front and put people like me, non-binary, on the LGBTQ list, which doesn't fucking make any sense in the first place. It's not my sexual orientation. Technically, I'm straight, but I am non-binary. So, like, why is that on that list with sexual orientations? It doesn't even make any sense. And it's not supposed to. It doesn't make any sense because it's all fucking psyop. This is all just ongoing fucking psychological warfare being had against the American people. So don't go down that route. But look at the ideas. The idea of let's limit it. You're they them. I'm they them. We're all they them. Hey, can you go get them for me? Done, man. It's easy. I know people go, whoa, them is a whole group of people. Yes, them does tend to apply to a whole group of people, but you can also apply it to individuals, as I have in my life, and as I'm sure you have seen done many times before, and you can apply it to inanimate objects and so many different things. So that's a subtle little thing right there. I just started using they, them. So now I've limited the vocabulary to more absolutes. And instead of the girl, it's the oneness. Instead of the boy, it's the oneness. They, them. They have the oneness. Overstand. I am above the information. Granted, we don't got to go around fucking, calling parkways driveways and driveways parkways because it's fucking stupid. But we've been doing this for such a long time. They've been doing this for such a long time. It's really the things about the degrees and the time. We want to be living in the now. We want to be speaking in the now. We don't want to live in yesterday, which causes depression or anxiety for tomorrow. Neither of these things are good. And the way we communicate can help us to stay present in the now, especially when we just keep all of our degrees down to the absolutes. When you're doing good, I'm doing great. When you're doing bad, I'm doing terrible. You just go take the full emotion of it. The full whatever the fullest thing is, I feel excellent. Get squeeze out all of the juice and get the energy every time you connect that. And then when you are feeling bad, don't be afraid to go, you know what? I'm kind of feeling bad. I don't even know why. But yeah, I don't really feel good. Something bothered me. have you ever said that before? Like a friend, they'll happen to ask you, how you doing? And you're just like, oh, you know what? Honestly, I'm not doing great. I don't know why. I don't even, can't even recognize where these feelings are coming from. But then usually within a few minutes, you're like, oh, you know what? I had a conversation with my dad a couple of minutes ago, and like, I didn't think it was bothering me, but it is bothering me. And honestly, I had this happen this weekend. I didn't get like super triggered or anything, but my dad, it's a typical dad thing or whatever. My dad definitely has a tendency to not recognize how text messages will come across. And sometimes he'll write like kind of curt text messages where you get it and you're just like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, is he mad at me? Like, why? I don't understand. So I got like a message like this, and I didn't have like a really triggered response, but I had a minorly triggered response where I just was sort of like, I feel like I got to defend myself. So I like sort of defended myself. Well, actually, I shouldn't say defended myself. The first thing I did was I explained myself. But then after I explained myself, it just was still like this lingering anxiety where I felt like I had to kind of defend myself. And it was like a nice defense. Like I wasn't like being like a jerk to him or anything, but I was just kind of like, hey, I feel like this, like, you said this, and like you just got to understand when you say something like that, I kind of read it like this, and like normally I wouldn't even say anything. I would just like be like, oh, I guess he doesn't want to talk to me or something like that, and I would slink away. And I know you don't want that. I know you want us to have a nice relationship. So I'm like saying, could you say this to me in a better way next time, because this will push me away, And I said later to my roommate Tigger when we were chatting. I was just chatting with him about what had gone down, and I said, if I had been in my total right mind, I still would have written something, but it would have been much different. I would have been like making like a joke about it. I would have been like sarcastic. I would have been like, hey, buddy, da-da-da, look what you did there, kind of thing. As opposed to what I did, which was defend myself, explain myself, which is really weakness, and then defend myself, which was like a little portion of like the beginnings of anger, frustration, misunderstanding, whatever else. And that shouldn't have been it. Like I was at peace. At the end of the day, I was at peace with what he was saying. I knew that this was a misunderstanding that had happened many of times before or whatever else. And, nothing had changed for him. And why should I expect any different? And I wasn't necessarily expecting any different. But it did just sort of like go on into the background of myself until I was finally able to acknowledge it. And then when it came time to acknowledge it, I actually acknowledged it. I haven't been loving it because this has been new for me in like the past year or so. But now when I'm feeling depressed, like if I feel like, I'm going through depression, I don't resist it and try to like get through it. I literally just kind of stop what I'm doing and I go, I'm a bit depressed. And then I go, is there anything nice I could do for myself? I swear, that's what I go. Is there anything nice I could do for myself? Maybe I should read a book. Maybe I can watch a movie. Maybe I go get some Outback cheese fries. I'm gonna go get some ice cream. That is the key. To use the path of least resistance, to be able to recognize when your energy is cycling itself in a place where you don't want to be dwelling. The longer you dwell in bad energy, the more momentum you build up in that energy state that will work itself out in other ways in the future. The more you can like sort of hit your bad energy state and then just pull yourself right out of it and get back, you only put a couple dimes into that low energy state. You're putting all your money into the high energy state. You're putting all your money into balance and peace. So it's really a matter of like the longer you dwell there, the easier it is to dwell there, the more comfortable you'll get there. And you don't want to do that because usually what happens is we try to avoid it and it'll slowly take us out until we're like dealing with it. And now it's like built up in our minds and it seems like something so big. But really it's never that big because there's just this moment where sort of the wave comes and you have to jump up so that your head doesn't go under the water. And if you don't, and you get kicked around by the water, you'll get kicked around by the next wave and the next wave and the next wave. But when you just go jump as that wave comes, it goes right underneath you, the water. It never kicks you around at all. And all you had to do was be prepared for it. And what that really means is when you feel depressed, you do the jump. And the jump is, I'm a little depressed. I'm going to be nice to myself. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to try to think about what it is that's bothering me here so I can understand myself better and understand this moment better. And then, when you get into that place where whenever it happens and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go, like you're already on the verge of accepting it and dismissing it. Like the moment I start, like the moment I've accepted that I'm depressed, like, oh man, I'm a little depressed about that conversation. It wasn't just a conversation. There was a couple little things that just happened to kind of all come up around the same time. Very weird too, when something like that happens and a whole bunch of unrelated things all kind of, not even necessarily scratch at the same wound, but kind of get you to the same place. And before you know it, you're like, wow, how did this happen? And like, this little thing happened, this little thing happened, this little thing happened. And I feel like kind of shit now. Oh, it happens. As soon as we can acknowledge it, the fastest way to unravel it all is simply to see it, observe it, go, yeah, I'm feeling bad. Let me give that a moment of my time. Why am I feeling bad? Let me think about this. Can I get myself to a better place of feeling bad? Can I talk to myself and explain a couple things to myself that, it's not as bad as you think because of this and because of this, because of this. Yeah, I can. You probably can. Can I go meditate? Can I go exercise? Can I go eat? There's always something that you can do to try to put a smile on your face. You don't want to get into a pattern with like eating or any of the things where like you're doing it and you're just putting your head down. I'm fucking sad. I'm eating my ice cream. Like I never eat ice cream to smother my my feelings, but I will eat ice cream to be joyful. I love ice cream. So like when I have ice cream, I'm just like, yeah, I got some ice cream. I'm gonna get a spoon, ice cream. And every bite, I just try to because, people would tell you that like, oh, ice cream isn't necessarily the best thing for you. It is. It is the best thing for me because that's how I feel. I feel that way about ice cream. It's easy for me to feel that way about ice cream. I fucking love ice cream. So I get myself into that state and I go, yum, yum, yum. So when you are feeling down or whatever, you acknowledge this, go somewhere where there's love, Don't if the eating or something like that or smoking, it would be a crutch. You don't want to do that. You want to do the thing that would genuinely be joyful to you, the most joyful choice that you could make. Okay? This language, which was built for law, I wish I remembered some of these people. Like our law is just so interesting. The way they build words and the verbal syntax, the historical verbal syntax for the creation of the words, and the verbal syntax that relates various words together, like black and blade and block, which all, obviously there's some black and blade and block. There's something thematically combining these things together. All words are built like that. There are some amazing people out there. There's this like Hawaiian lawyer who he had like an 8-hour lecture. I took away the broad stroke concepts of what he was talking about. But, this man is very well studied in the language in a degree that I am not, because he's getting into that verbal syntax. What is the real true meaning inherent in these words? What is that word? It's formed from this word and this word, and this word means that, and that word means that. The history and the germination, or whatever is a word for it that I'm escaping me. But it's very interesting, fascinating, amazing subject that I think anybody would find interesting. And then the conversation about Latin, is it real? A very interesting conversation as well, because there are plenty of people who have been suggesting that Latin and the origins of civilization on that level and the language is not all it's cracked up to be. So you really behoove yourself to begin having an awareness of not just what you say, but what you think, what you write, how you write the things. Are you taking ownership of your full power with absolutes at all times? Or are you wibbly wobbly in your level of power, in your level of ability, in your level of idea, whatever it might be, versus be a yes man, but also be a no man. Yes, no, firm. What we're talking about here across the board is degrees are a bad idea. You as a mental being living within the stand frame of degrees. Like one of the first things I was shown when I had my biggest psychedelic medicine trip at 28, my first one, I remember seeing this music mixing board. It was a really long music mixing board, and each mixer, if for those of you who don't know what a mixing board is, like, literally there's like a little handle, little button kind of thing, and you can slide it up within like a range of like 5 or 6 inches. Okay, and this is literally one musical instrument will be for one of the things. So this is the snare, this is the hi hat, this is the cymbals, this is the tom, then this is the guitar. This is guitar number 2. This is the bass, and then each one is put to a different spot within the mix so that everything is balanced, right? So when they showed me the mixing board for me on the psychedelic trip, they showed me basically how I felt about everything. How I felt about me, how I felt about my mom, how I felt about, Patty, how I felt about sex, how I felt about my attractiveness, how I felt about age, how I felt about life and death, how I felt about religion, and everything was like some degree. It was like, and the closer you got to purity was like the closer you got to the real me and the loving me and the creative person. But within all these things were all of these weird little sort of degrees of feelings that I had about things. And a lot of them were degrees of feelings because my gut said I shouldn't worry or care about that at all. But society was telling me that I should, like my age or my looks or something like that. And granted, like I'm somebody who's largely in my life, people have always kind of told me I was handsome. So I didn't necessarily have any sort of big chip on my shoulder and like feeling like I wasn't handsome. But at the same time, I had a chip on my shoulder in that like, that doesn't matter. How handsome am I? That shouldn't matter. My age shouldn't matter. If I'm a musician or a comic book writer or whatever, like why should that matter? Why should these superficial things get in the way of the thing? And that's an absolute for me. But until I'm at the absolute where I'm like, that doesn't matter and that doesn't matter, I'm in a place where I'm like, I think it doesn't matter, but they all seem to think it matters. It's, if I knew that I was on, it clearly matters to them. It matters to them. And then I could really look at it and eventually get myself to a place of, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care that it matters to them. I think they're all stupid for having invented the idea that this matters in the first place. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. If you can get yourself to the absolute resolution, realization of the pain, and get yourself to the absolute resolution of the release, the relief, the pleasure, man, I love it when I do this. Boom. Hey, look how great life is. I just keep doing that like a drug addict. Of course, hopefully you're doing it mixed with a lot of other things. So it's not just one thing. But as you really decide, I love that. I love you. Decide. Don't be wibbly wobbly. Be powerful enough and smart enough to make a choice. You could decide later that you no longer feel the same way, but decide at the time. I love this person. I'm going for it. I like this situation. I'm getting this job. I want to go after this. I'm getting this money. I want whatever the fuck you have in your heart, believe it. Believe it 100%. I believe in you. I know that you can do it. The tough part is believing yourself. It's actually the easiest thing for me to believe in others, right? Easy for you to believe in me. Send some of that belief my way. Thanks. I appreciate it. The real difficult part is you just believing that it can be true. It can be you. You can be just absolutely powerful. And I know that that's a weird thing. Because we're not taught like that's acceptable, socially acceptable, to be absolutely beautiful or just accepting of whatever it is that you are and loving it. Because beautiful is just a language to describe, I like the look of you. So just say, I love myself encapsulates everything. I love myself. I love myself. Say it with me. Say it at home. I love myself. Love yourself. Absolutely. Believe in your power. Absolutely. Believe in your wealth. Absolutely. Believe in your intelligence. Absolutely. Everything about you, believe in it. And if you don't believe in it, try to get yourself to the, I don't believe in it. And why don't I believe in it? And try to learn from that. Maybe it's a case where you're not supposed to believe in it. Maybe that is the right answer, the good answer in this case. But at the end of the day, we must all become conscious of what we are saying, what we're writing online, and especially what we are thinking, how we are framing every aspect of our life. Because if we do it wrong, and I promise you, I know this, I was doing it wrong for a very long time. If we do it wrong, it will haunt us until we start doing it right. So I invite you all to join me in being very absolute, pure, living in the now, taking the gender out of the language, taking the past and the future out of the language, and living in that perfect, absolute now moment filled with love or whatever frustration that you have that needs to be resolved. Because on the other side of the resolution of that energy is freedom, baby. And that's why I do this show. I want freedom. I'm working on getting mine. I'm freeing up. I'm feeling myself becoming free. And I want to be there for you guys. I want to make sure that we all get free. I want to live in a free world with lots of happy people holding hands and having a good time. Join me there, won't you? If you got anything to add to this conversation, you can email me at jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio. Blacklightdistrict.studio, that's my company. We make boutique comic books and music. They're all free on our website. You should go to the website if you love me and you want to honor me and check out some of the great music that has been released so far and some of the great comics that I've written and others have written. Really wonderful things over at blacklightdistrict.studio. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I hope you will join me again next Sunday for another fucking mind-blowing episode of Everything They Don't Want You to Know. Peace out.
Here is a conspiracy theorist. I look around and just can't understand. Here is something perfectly clear that is an answer you cannot defend. Yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I couldn't be nearest to the truth. Hey, hey, we all are conspiracy theorists. Hey guys, how about you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here is a conspiracy theory. I take the red pill but can't comprehend. Here is something factually real and injustice that must be avenged. Yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I couldn't be nearest to the truth. Hey, hey, we all are conspiracy theorists. Hey guys, how about you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. They created this term to shut us all up. 'Cause when we all know, we'll all just stand up. Take back this world, pay for their sins. 'Cause when we all love and when we all give, we all win.
Conspiracy theorists, we hope that you hear this. Conspiracy theorists, we hope that you hear this.
Ooh, follow the lies to the truth. Oh, follow the lies to the truth. Yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I couldn't be nearest to the truth.